when we found out that she wasn't going to make it, the doctor that was looking after Minnie at the time had planted the seed in our heads what was potentially going to happen long before it actually did. The mood sort of changed in the room when he was, he told us stuff differently, didn't he? And then we was told by the heart specialist. She basically, told us with the two things that Minnie had, with the throat and the heart, the surgery probably wasn't going to be, that it wasn't going to come out well. So we spoke about comfort care, didn't we? And then just keeping her relaxed, really, and keeping her just comfortable. And then, obviously, because we didn't go ahead with the operations as we knew what was going to happen. She died in our arms.
The first few hours, our experience is probably, I don't know, potentially quite different to other people's, because we decided that, because she'd had a lot of scans and tests and stuff, and we knew that there was nothing else wrong with any of their organs, we decided that we would donate her organs. So when she first died, she had to be taken away quite quickly, within sort of 5 minutes, I think they said. So for the first 2 hours, we were actually with her. And I don't know whether that maybe helped, strangely, in a way, because, I mean, obviously, as soon as they took her away, it was just totally devastating at that. And even though we'd agreed to it and I knew what was going to happen, and it was fine, and we had a wobble about whether I could give her up so quickly, and they took her, and I remember just crying, for hours. But then, to be honest, then when they brought her back after a couple of hours, I felt like I'd almost got it out, the initial sort of out of my system, so I could really enjoy like holding her. And obviously we stayed with her for, I don't know,
ages.
My brother came and picked us up sort of late afternoon, and that was early hours of the morning, so we just stayed with her all day, and it was just really nice it was nice to see her without any tubes and ventilators on, because that's all I'd seen solidly for 3 weeks. But I just remember holding her so tight, this was awful. Just still couldn't believe, that she died. It was just awful. I just felt like it was the worst thing that could have ever happened. And I didn't know what we were going to tell Lily, and I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to be there. It was just awful.
First couple of hours and days after he passed away, it was very surreal to us. Because he'd passed away at home, I didn't want to go home. I just felt like I couldn't go back to where I'd just left with a baby without one. So we went to stay at my mum's house. It was very difficult, sort of having to make the phone calls to tell family and friends, and sort of know what you're supposed to do. You sort of don't really know what's expected of you, or what you even can do. The first thing we sort of wanted was answers, really.
We're telling family they knew what was going to happen, because we'd told them, right, tonight's going to be the night. In fact, we'd told friends as well, that the initial phone call.
Because we knew for a full day, didn't
we?
We
knew for a full day, because we had to get the organ donation.
We were waiting for the donor team to be in place, so they almost chose the time, really, which was okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would have ever been able to choose a time anyway.
No. We spoke, told everybody, so they knew what was happening, and
I know a lot of my friends just said, do you want me to tell? Do you want me to tell anybody, or are you all right? And I just said, yeah. I just said, you might as well, because I just thought, how am I ever going to go through town with nobody noticing that I don't have either a big pregnant belly or a baby. Like, everybody will know, and I just thought, well, it saves me.
Just told him, everybody obviously immediate round us, you know, family and friends, told them. And as for telling Lily, we were pretty straight, really, you know. Told her that she'd died, told her that she'd gone up to heaven.
For my family and friends finding out, it was my mum and my sister had come to the hospital. They'd followed us down as soon as I'd told them that Tommy wasn't breathing. My mum had come to my house to watch my daughter, and then my stepdad had then gone round in her place, and her and my sister had come to the hospital. So for them, they knew as soon as we walked out of the resuscitation room. Making the phone calls is so difficult that if you can take some of that away from somebody, then yeah, I would recommend it. It's everything, every little thing's a help. You know, in situations like that, it's still sinking in for you. So to have to make those phone calls and not know, some people, you know, when we rang them, they were in disbelief, they was shocked, and it's sort of the things that they say to you in their shock, it's sometimes just better for other people to deal with that on your behalf if they can. The best thing I could say to parents together going through this, and also with the children, I mean, my daughter has been quite resilient. She was only 3, so she does remember segments of it, and she does ask me things, but I think, you know, the best thing is to find a way of explaining it to them and sort of try and stick to that. And you do, as they're getting older, you do sort of had to add bits in, because you know that their mind, they are getting better at understanding. But we sort of explained to my daughter that Tommy was a star, and then my aunt even went out and, you know, you can have a star named after somebody, so she did that for us. So it was we could even bring that to my daughter and say, look, this is his star and where it is, and things like that.
I think people could just act normal. That's more, and that is pretty much what a lot of people did. I think if a lot of people if they get in your face, not in your face, but if they try and be too happy, then it can have the adverse effect. But I think if you just, you know, just act normal, just ask us how we are.
Just acknowledge that it's
just
happened.
Acknowledge that it's happened, yeah.
Because it's weird to talk to somebody when they're desperately trying not to mention it.
Yeah.
And you just think, well, it's all right, because I'd rather you just said it, and then I felt like I found myself bringing it up to just clear the air. And I know I shouldn't have been, I know they say, oh, you don't worry about what anyone else thinks, but I just thought it just makes, every time I spoke to someone that hadn't seen yet, I just thought, I better get it out the way almost, so they know that it's
fine to talk about.
It's all right to talk about it almost.
And we not like, well, we do like talking about it, because I don't want anyone to think that we've forgotten. I know that we've got another one now, you know, we've got April now, but that didn't come, you know, she didn't come without a lot of thinking. People think you've just got over it, and that ain't the case. I think a lot of thought's gone into it, and everybody sort of thinks that, you know, well, they're all right now, but I like to talk about it.
And I just hated the way people, you know, looked at me in the supermarket like, their baby died. And obviously people will be sympathetic, but I just would rather they'd just talk to me about how horrible it was, because then I just felt like everybody's just getting it all out in the open rather than just sort of papering over it all and just like, are you okay? Like, no, because I'm not gonna be, you know, and I'll let you know if I am. But yeah, I just think just talk about it as much as possible. I think that helps.
I think the best thing that friends and family can do to help you is just sort of support you. Everybody deals with grief obviously differently, and it is awful because the days drag out, you don't know what to do with yourself, and it's sort of, you don't feel like you should be doing anything because you don't feel like you're allowed to. But then it's awful just sat around doing nothing. So I think the best thing to do is see how that person individually feels and if there's anything that would make them feel better. If, like I say, I didn't go home, but there were certain things that I did want to be around that weren't there. So, my mum and sister had gone back to my house, brought me a couple of things and put a couple of things away. I think it can be good for people to visit you. It's awkward because you don't want to talk about it completely, but you don't want to ignore it completely either. But sometimes just a glimpse back into the outside world is, my cousins came around, bless them, and did sort of my nails and tried to take my mind off it, sort of gave me a pampering and was just chatting away to me. And, we didn't essentially talk about that. And it did sort of feel, at the time, it felt surreal, and you sort of almost feel like you're doing something wrong. But to just sit there in that grief and think about nothing else isn't good for you either.
Try not to get stressed out, I suppose. But it's pointless saying it, really.
I just can't. Yeah, I
just don't think there is anything.
Yeah, I just think there's no way of. It's just it feels like the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to me, and I don't see how everyone reacts differently to it, don't they? And I don't really know of any. I would definitely say I felt like as my doctor looked after me quite well, and my health visitor and stuff. So I just think get in touch, and even my midwife Vicky, she rang me and was offering to come see me, and I just think take them up on it and that, because the doctor organised some counselling for me, and I've never done anything like that before. And I found it really, really helpful. That she was really nice, and it was just nice to have someone totally separate to talk to about it. And weirdly, I always found exercise really good as well. Really good. And the doctor told me it was probably better than any medicine that he could give me. And if I used to get stressed out or upset, I just used to go for a nice long run or big sweaty workout, and it's surprising how much better it does actually make you feel.
I think if I could go back now and tell myself things, I think I'd just say, to just take things one step at a time, not to worry about things so much. You worry about the funerals, the arrangements, and I would just say, it's your child, it's your grief, and you need to do that your way. Sometimes, your grief changes as it progresses as well. So for me, getting involved with a charity was a really good way for me to sort of do something for my son. Like, all I can do for him now is taking flowers to the graveyard, and that doesn't help anybody. Whereas getting involved with a charity makes me feel like I'm doing something in his memory for him, even though he isn't here anymore. I would just say support each other as best you can, and don't be afraid to ask for help if it's counselling, if it's some sort of mediation with your family, or just make time for each other to sort of try and understand it from each other's point of view, really.